communication is incredibly important to me because there's a mutual safety, right? We need safety as well. I have the safety to be vulnerable. I have the safety to express, for a lack of better words, grievances, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not many because there's that mutual trust.
I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. Welcome back. I am so excited to have you here this month in the Redefining Wealth app and community. We've been talking about purposeful partnerships. And so for the entire month of February, when I go live daily in the app, and yes, I show up live 365 days a year. That's the consistency challenge that I'm in, to give value to my community every single day. In the last few editions of those daily lives, we've been talking about a lot of things that relate to relationships, not just personally, but professionally as well. And so these are candid conversations with our global purpose chasers. It's beautiful to see people checking in from the UK and Australia and Suriname and Colombia and all over the United States. Just awesome. So we've talked about being okay with being the villain in someone else's story, if it means that you're going to be rooted in your truth and authenticity. We've talked about being able to release relationships because better is always available to you, and so many things. So go get it before it's gone, though, because I'm only leaving the replays up for about 30 days now. And after that, it'll go into the vault for our paid communities, such as the Institute for Redefining Wealth, Mastery and Momentum, and other programs. So get it while you can. But because this week, folks are going to be talking about love, we are celebrating Valentine's Day for those that do this Friday. Tomorrow, I thought it would be good to talk about redefining love. That has been a journey of mine for the last few years here. And I wanted to share how I attracted my ideal partner in 6 steps. I get asked this all the time in the community, especially again in our closed containers where we're having those deep conversations, because I realize that while we want to make more money and have these fulfilling careers, and we have these big, ignited, aligned visions, something that I keep asking the women who partner with me is, who's there with you? So when you have these ideas and these dreams and these thoughts about what your life will look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, even if you are already married and in a relationship, what does it actually look like for you? There is still an opportunity to redefine love for yourself. And I've been talking about this for years now. And I think it's time we go a little deeper. So after the affirmation of the week, come on back, because we're going to jump into the 6 things that I believe have attracted a really beautiful relationship for me in this season of my life. This week's affirmation is, I redefine love for myself. I am open to redefining love on my own terms, embracing a relationship that resonates with authenticity and deep connection. I invite an ideal partner into my life, one who mirrors my values, celebrates my growth, and shares my journey with kindness and respect. I trust that God is working to align our paths, bringing us together at the perfect moment for mutual enlightenment and joy. I am worthy of a love that is nurturing, transformative, and so aligned with who I am and who I am becoming. As I prepare my heart and mind for this divine connection, I remain confident that my ideal partner is also seeking me with equal hope and equal intention. Declare with me today, I redefine love for myself. Okay, I am so excited to share I've talked about this in bits and pieces for the last few years. I even went as far as to invite my dating coach, Joyce Robinson, who really supported me early 2022. Now, I was just wanting to be prepared for relationship. And something that I learned from listening to her at the time on Clubhouse, now she has her own podcast. And again, we'll link to her episode here. But what I learned in that experience was that being able to enter a quality relationship was really going to come down to having a quality relationship with yourself. And for those of us who have been through long-term marriages or relationships, partnerships, where a lot of things were quite frankly normalized and romanticized and were not necessarily what we genuinely desired in partnership, it is so important to be clear and authentic about what was actually what you wanted and what did not meet your needs, wants, or desires at all. Because if not, we can take that language, that behavior, that expectation into future relationships and create the same hell we feel like we were trying to escape from. So step number one was really just getting down the foundation of self-love and self-trust. Self-love and self-trust, because the other thing is, if you have been through any type of, friction, just feeling like the relationship did not serve who you are, who you wanted to become, if there was any level of psychological abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and heaven forbid, physical abuse, you might start to believe that you can't trust yourself. You might actually believe that you can't trust yourself to pick better. You might think that you don't have what it takes to see the signs coming and all those things. And so Joyce Robinson and Match, Marry, Mate really helped me hone in on becoming the best version of myself for myself so that I could love myself and trust myself. That's what I really got. Before even creating my ideal partner list, I had to trust myself to be able to define what that looked like for me in this season. And not from what I thought other people wanted, not from what I thought society's pressures were or any external concepts, but from going within and saying genuinely, what do you desire in relationship? How do you want to be loved? How do you want to be treated? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to feel? And before you can expect that from anyone else, how are you going to show up for yourself in that way? So it was really important to define for myself what my needs, wants, desires were, but also what my boundaries were. What were my governing decisions so that regardless of the person who came into my life, I could be clear. I could trust myself to pick because I had already been radically honest with myself about what I would accept and what I wouldn't. And no matter how good people looked on paper, if it wasn't aligned with those governing decisions, I could move on sooner, quicker, faster instead of romanticizing someone. So it gave me the trust that I needed in my ability to say no to what wasn't right for me with no fear of repercussions from anything, anyone outside of myself. It just allowed me to be radically honest. So I would say the very first thing was just getting down that foundation of self-love and self-trust. I still have the journal where I went through so many of the Match, Marry, Mate exercises. So she primarily works with Black women, but we'll definitely link in the show notes because it was so important to get that down. The second thing I would say that I did was really root myself in the power of visualization. That's already very big. Obviously, you may hear me talk a lot about the ignited aligned vision. Something that I really teach from is the pillars are used to support a vision. If there's no vision, if there's nothing that you are consistently visualizing, like how you see your life, can you put yourself in the picture in your mind of the ideal life that you desire? And if you can't do that, then typically what people choose to do in the 6 pillars of wealth ends up feeling like busy work, which leads to burnout. It's completely the opposite of what we want to create. Leveraging the pillars and setting your life up by the pillars are supposed to create peace. because you are doing the things that intentionally move you towards the vision. And so you always have cues for visualization around you, whether that be a vision board, if that's your thing, or putting images in your planner or with your goals. For me, I created a note section in my phone with screenshots of inspiring love stories, especially second chance love. So for people who I saw in media or in social media, even friends and family that I knew who were on their second marriage, and it was more of what they desired. It was more aligned with who they really were now that they are older. And it really reflected the type of love that I wanted to see. Instead of getting caught up in this idea that there's no good men out there and there's no faithful relationships and there's no this and no that, I really lean to, and granted, you don't know what's going on behind people's doors. So it's not even that. But I looked for images, and not that I was really looking for them. It's just that as they would come across my feed, I would screenshot them so that I could have something, hold something, reference something that looked like what I desire. Now, again, I know what's on my ideal partner list. I know how I'm building my own self-love and self-trust. So I know what I will stick with and what I will walk away with. But being able to see a woman talk about her second husband with such adoration and admiration, I would save it. Being able to see a man who talked about thinking he wouldn't find love again and how he had to work on himself in order to be worthy of this woman who was now in his life, I was taking screenshots and putting that in my phone. And I think it's just so important to be able to see what's possible and using it as a reminder that love aligned with our deepest desires does exist. It does exist. If you believe it does. If you believe it doesn't, of course, you're going to continue to attract emotionally unavailable people. Of course, you will continue to attract unkind people. You will attract distracted people, everything opposite of what you say you want. But it comes down to what you believe. And one of the ways that we cement what we believe is to put visual cues with it. So it'll help you stay positive. It'll help you stay hopeful. And it will really align you again with how you want to feel in relationship. You can say, these are the words that reflect, or these are the images that reflect what I see for myself. And if I'm in an experience, again, no matter how wonderful the person looks on paper, if this is not what I'm feeling, if what I'm experiencing in real life doesn't give me that type of energy, I know that it's not for me and I can walk away. So having those cues all around are really helpful. Step number 3 was creating a sacred space for love. I've shared about this before, but after my separation, I really started taking a look at my physical space, the bedroom, the space that would represent love, right? And realized how I needed to detox and cleanse that space of things tied to my past relationship. And I didn't even realize there was a drawer in my old bedroom at my former house. There was a drawer there for months after my former husband moved out, where there were like all of these pocket squares and socks and ties and all this stuff that I didn't even know was there. So what I'm saying is look in the nooks and crannies because hidden clutter is still energetically cluttering your picker and your ability to call in what you want. There were things like we only had a lamp on one of the nightstands on my side because I used to read at night. There was no lamp on the other side. I don't know if it broke in a move or something and we just never replaced it. But it was stuff like that. Like, oh, there's only one lamp. It's lopsided. There was decor that was around that was very much giving, I'm a mom. And as much as like, okay, it's beautiful to have pictures up of your children, you don't really want that in the boom, boom room. You know, it's kind of like, love Reagan, but I could put those photos in the hallways and in the living room and dining room and all over the place. I don't really want them in this space. What I wanted was prints that represented love. I went on Etsy and I got these prints that had like the silhouette of a man and woman. They had the silhouette of couples holding hands. They had embracing. And I'm like, that's the type of energy that I want to bring into my space. I wanted to bring the prints. And then I got these cute wood carvings at like Home Goods. And they were like a man and woman embracing. So now I put in all these visual cues, again, more reminders of a loving couple, because that is what reflected the kind of love that I wanted to see. And adding the balance with the lamps and certain decor, it just really opened up, I think, energetically, this idea of openness, and that I was open to relationship, that I was open to bringing balance and harmony in my love life. And also clearing out drawers and stuff. I'm sure you may have heard that before, but to create space for a partner in your life. It's interesting, even now, sometimes when I walk with my partner or we embrace, I look at, and it happens all the time naturally, but I look at the prints in my room, and that is a natural way that we stand and has been pretty much since the beginning. And it's so interesting because he had never seen those prints and been able to see any of that, but it happened naturally. Okay, so number 4, I would say affirming also what I wanted to see in relationship. I really believe that words are powerful, and words are a reflection of your beliefs and thoughts. And so that's why we have to start with the radical honesty, right? The foundation of self-love and self-trust is going to be radically honest, and then creating the visualizations, because it starts to really shift our beliefs, and our beliefs shift our thoughts. And our thoughts lead to our words, and words obviously lead to our actions. And affirming that I wanted to be loved and I felt like I was loving and lovable and a phenomenal lover, it made me start to just think differently again about what was possible. And so there was a meditation that I got from a girlfriend that I met in Costa Rica. I think I met her in January 2022. She was like, I'm testing out this affirmation. It's about manifesting a dream partner. Her name is Prima. Beautiful light, beautiful energy. I believe she still lives in Costa Rica. She sent the girls and I who were on the trip this meditation and said, just listen to it every night. And so I will put it on every night. And I really believe that it aligned my energy and my words and my expectation with everything I said I was visualizing. It raised the energy on the vision, because it's one thing to see it, and then it's another thing to then start to believe it's not possible and keep tuning your attention to everything you say you don't want. And listening to this every night, it was just a beautiful experience. I would fall asleep to it. Sometimes I would listen to it in the morning, and it just really speaks to her words putting you in the space. So you're listening, but you're visualizing yourself in this space, in this relationship where there is nothing but love and fun and trust. There's no ambiguity about who you are to one another. It is just a very vibrant word choice that she uses. And it just heightens your emotions and your perception and your dream and your vision, quite frankly. And so I think having something that speaks into and helps you create the vision. For those of you who struggle with visualization, having the words that go with the visualization, going to be a game changer. And also, I will link to this in the show notes because I want you to listen. She recently, I think in the last several months, put it on YouTube to make it accessible to all. And I'm so excited for that. So I will share that with you. Okay, so I have to ask, when was the last time you truly prioritized your peace, your purpose, and your prosperity without the guilt? Most people wait until life forces them to slow down. But what if you could be proactive about seeking out your own transformation? Exactly why I created Redefining Wealth Live, and this is our 3rd year strong. This is a space where high achievers can step away from the distractions of the world and get super clear on their vision, faith, and financial well-being. And this year, for the first time ever, we are making it more accessible than we ever have. Redefining Wealth Live 2025 is a hybrid event. And that means if you want to be in the room for a powerful, intimate, in-person experience, you can do that. And if you need to join from anywhere in the world, you can do that too. But here's the catch. Only waitlist members get first access when tickets drop. Room is going to be very limited, very exclusive, and a deep experience. So only 44 people can go. If you already know you need to be in this space, then do not wait. Go to redefiningwealthlive.com right now and join the waitlist so you don't miss out. Trust me, these tickets will sell out. So go now, redefiningwealthlive.com, and I will see you in September. Number 5 for me, calling in my ideal partner, was really about trusting my intuition because I dated several people. I did participate in what they call rotational dating, where for me, dating is just literally going on dates. Dating is about collecting data. For me, the big thing was collecting data about how I would show up. Because again, I had to rebuild my self-trust that I could choose the right person for me, that I could trust my picker. I could trust my intuition. I could trust myself to stay true to my governing decisions and be okay with, as Iyanla Vanzant says, right? Understanding that we don't get to tell people how to love. We get to see how they love and then determine if we want to participate. And so I would go on dates. I would have a great time. I would go to restaurants and balloon ride and helicopter ride and do all the things, had a wonderful time. But I could also trust myself to choose peace over appearances. And so no matter how good it looked, and no one really knew that I was dating, so it wasn't about how it looked to other people. But no matter how good the person may present on paper because they own this business or they have access to this or they're an entrepreneur too, or all of these things, at the end of the day, I had to trust my intuition, which because of the first 4 practices, I was really getting good at being grounded in Patrice. I think sometimes, especially as successful women, we get grounded into what we think other people want to see from us. We are very grounded in that. We're not grounded in what we truly, genuinely want. We're grounded in what feels acceptable. We're grounded in what we're told is accessible. The cues, directly or indirectly, that we're given, that something needs to look a certain way. That a lot of what we choose based on is literally just, can someone perhaps financially support us, and not even considering how we feel emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And so being able to trust and know that for me, emotional and spiritual support is the greatest thing. That's why it's so important as a woman, I believe, for anyone, but for a woman to know how to hold your own, so that removing the financial piece, what else do they bring to the table? Because we're made to believe that we're supposed to be talking about what we bring to the table outside of money, which my mind has the power to create. What else do you bring to the table? Because I need to feel safe and seen and heard and covered and loved, because I am loving, I'm lovable, I am loved, and I'm a phenomenal lover. So when you keep rooting in all of these pieces and mixing them together, you just keep raising the vibration. I really believe that. And being able to weed out sooner, quicker, faster what does not work for you. It helps you to not settle for less or settle for what you think is only available to you. This is why I talked about in one of the daily lives in the app, better is always available. That's what I believe. So that belief kept me from settling in things that were not going to be good in the long run. And I knew it. And if some of us are radically honest, if you are someone who was in a long-term relationship, usually when I coach women and we talk about these things, they will tell me, I knew very early on that I was not in the right marriage for me. But I saved face. I kept going. I gaslit myself. I talked myself into staying in situations that were really awful for me because I didn't trust myself to go do anything different. And I didn't want all the external pressure that came with saying this isn't for me anymore. And then number 6, so number 5, trusting your intuition. And then number 6, just maintaining a positive dating mindset. I just had a positive attitude the entire time. And I have to say, I also learned from Joyce Robinson not to try to make every man my husband. Like going out to date and having a good time was literally just about having a good time, allowing myself to be cater to just allowing myself to have fun, just keeping a light, positive mindset. And I think it's so interesting that people will say, oh, I'm dating with purpose. And if they're not trying to get married, I'm not going to waste time going on a date. Why would someone know if they wanted to marry you on the first date? You're not even giving yourself an opportunity to explore and to see. There's a lot of data that goes missing about who you genuinely are when you don't give yourself permission to explore. There's so much that you are not learning about who you really are, what you really like. You think that you know, but you only know it from the perspective of sitting on the sidelines and contemplating it. You don't really know until you get in the game. You can't own it until you have an opportunity to express it. And not express it with one person, because that's not true data. The ability to truly synthesize data in a way that will serve you is to have a lot of data points. Having one date is not enough to say, oh, all men do this, or I know I don't like that. There are a lot of things that you will realize you thought you didn't like because it wasn't from the right person. And then you'll learn that there were things that you were asking for that were never too much. You were asking the wrong person. And so keeping a positive dating mindset just allows you to go out there and collect the data points. Collecting that data helped me refine my ideal partner list over and over and over again. I could add things, I could adjust things, I could tweak things. I didn't know until I started dating. So for example, on my ideal partner list, which I guess is the bonus tip here, is that I started with an ideal partner list, but the ideal partner list got refined as I dated. So for example, one thing that's really important to me is humor. I love to laugh. I love to have someone make me laugh. I love to feel like my little corny jokes make somebody else happy and makes them laugh. And I didn't realize until I talked to a few guys or went on dates that there's a very specific humor that I like. I don't really like dark humor at the expense of other people. That just goes too far against how I feel, right? And so I went on a date with someone, and then I realized that all of their jokes were really at the expense of other people around, even when it made the other people uncomfortable. And so for me, that wasn't funny. People laughed. There was some humor to it, but it wasn't the type of humor that I could see myself sitting in and sitting with long term. And so while the person owned all these properties, very successful entrepreneur, very handsome, the right height, all of the things, at the end of the day, that wasn't something I feel like I could sit with. It just didn't feel good. Over and over again, a couple times. We only went on a few dates, but a couple times I was just like, this seems to be your thing, right? So why do I say that? It didn't mean that it ruined it for everybody. I'm just like, okay, despite all of the great accolades, my ideal partner list is not full of accolades. It's really full of characteristics and traits that align with my own. And so you can have the house, you can have the cars, you can have the this and the that and blah, blah, blah. But if I don't feel safe with you and I don't feel like other people could be safe with you, if you could start to say things that would make my daughter uncomfortable, my governing decision is no. So I can maintain a positive dating mindset, but also weed people out very quickly. So I thought, and I'll say them again, foundation of self-love and self-trust, so important. I guess the bonus at the beginning is just having your ideal partner list, being radically honest about what you need, want, and desire in relationship, adding the power of visualization. So putting pictures that represent how you see yourself in relationship. For me, that was really great. Second chance love opportunities, putting those notes in my phone, creating a sacred space for love. So really making sure my bedroom reflected something that felt good and represented the type of love I desired and had balance. Adding affirmations to the whole thing to just help increase the energy, turn up the vibration on what I'm visualizing, trusting my intuition, and then maintaining that positive dating mindset. Those have been helpful to me. I really pray that it's a blessing to you. I'm going to link to resources, so please look out for that. But I thought I would share what it helped me manifest. It's so wild to me that maybe right before Redefining Wealth Live 2024, I was reading a journal from about 5 weeks before I met my ideal partner. And as I read the journal, and I read this to them in the VIP session at Redefining Wealth Live, which, by the way, the wait list is open. So make sure you get on the wait list, because on March 15th, I'm going to release the VIP tickets for Redefining Wealth Live, and I only am doing 44 people. March 15th is my 44th birthday, and I felt led to create a space that goes much deeper with fewer people in a really upscale experience. Just a really connected experience that reflects more of who I am. So anyway, redefiningwealthlive.com, get on the wait list. I just opened it and released it, and it's already growing pretty quickly, and we're only going to have the 44 tickets. So be in the know. But at VIP day during Redefining Wealth Live, I read my actual journal, about, I don't know, a third of it or so. And the thing that was crazy to me was when I read it to my now partner, based on what it said, he thought I wrote it after we met, because it literally speaks about how we are, like, verbatim. I read it to him one day in the kitchen, and then he's like, wow, yeah. And then I turned it around and showed him the date. And it is actually 5 weeks before we met. And so to see that visualization, that vision come to fruition verbatim, and how aligned my actions had to be to weed out people that were not right for me, not bad people, they just weren't right for me, in order to call in what felt much more aligned for me, was crazy. It is so crazy to see what's been manifested. And so I wanted to share this because I coach so many amazing women, successful women, who are unfulfilled in relationships. This is not about leaving your spouse. If your spouse is willing to hear you out for who you have become and who you're becoming, and you guys can get on the same page, oh my gosh, or your spouse or your long-term partner, oh my gosh, I love that for you. Pillar Mastery, Redefining Wealth, the coaching that I've done has really actually helped a lot of relationships. We talked about this on a panel at Redefining Wealth Live. I have a client who was on the brink of potentially leaving her marriage for the second time. And now they are considering working together. Her doing this work and becoming the woman she's become over the last, I would say, 2 years of us working together has literally changed her marriage. And I hear this over and over and over again from so many of the women in the community. So I just want to say, I share these things not because I want you to leave your marriage. I've heard that people think this about me, which is crazy. I love love. I love love. If there was something different that I could have done in my marriage, perhaps I would have. But I had exhausted all the things, especially at the hands of well-meaning mentors who said that I just needed to keep praying, and I needed to keep fasting, and I needed to keep doing all the things, but held no responsibility for my partner at the time. So I could not continue on in that and believe that the God that loves me wanted me to do so. And I'm so grateful that I was willing to lose in order to be, do, and have everything I believe God called me to. And some of that was to have the right type of love. It was the ability to redefine love. And so to be in the relationship that I'm in now has been absolutely incredible. It's been life-changing. It's been life-affirming. It's been very healing. I didn't even know it was possible. I know what I wrote. It's easy to write it. It's easy to know the words, but man, I didn't even know how I would feel in it, like experiencing the outcome, the work of it. And some of it I've had to continue to coach myself through and work with my therapist and my coach on, because it's such a beautiful and refreshing love that there have been times in it where I didn't know what to do with it. I had to learn how to hold that type of love because it was so different. But nevertheless, I want to leave you with, well, I think I'm going to ask them to come up here. So hold on a second. Hey, Purpose Chaser. Now, you know I'm all about staying aligned with my fit pillar, but as a business entrepreneur and speaker, always on the go, staying consistent with my workouts used to be a struggle. That's why I love the Future app. It's a game changer for anyone with a hectic schedule who still wants to prioritize their fitness. With Future, I get a personal trainer. Shout out to my amazing coach, Sydney, who creates workouts tailored specifically to me. So whether I'm at my home gym, in a hotel, or traveling, I can fit in a quick session or a full workout that fits my schedule. And the best part, Sydney keeps me accountable by checking in, adjusting my plan, and celebrating my progress. If you are someone who needs flexibility but doesn't want to compromise on results, Future is for you. Plus, they've got everything from strength training to cardio and flexibility, all designed to help you crush your fit pillar goals. If you're ready to level up your workouts, head to patricewashington.com/future to get started. That's patricewashington.com/future. And let's stay fit together, no matter where life takes us. Okay, you guys, I got him. So we're back. Why would you laugh? Okay, here we go. So this episode, I've been talking about redefining love, and 6 of the steps I feel like I took to get to a good place where I could trust myself in dating. I could trust my picker, my ability to pick a good partner for myself, and just things that I did kind of in almost all the pillars, like mentally, physically, space pillar wise, faith wise, all the stuff. So obviously it worked because you're here. So hi.
Hey.
That's the hi you want to give.
Yeah. What up, y'all?
Oh my gosh.
Venus flytrap.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So obviously it worked because you're here.
I am.
Okay. And so I guess my question would be, when we met, well, first of all, when we met, neither one of us was looking for like a deep relationship.
Right.
So this is a surprise to both of us.
Was not in my bingo card for 2023.
Wasn't in the bingo card. Okay. So what was your experience of me when you first encountered me?
Engaging. That's like the first word I can think of. There's like how do I say? There's an experience we have, men, in the dating pool, right? Y'all like to say there's pee in the dating pool,
Not y'all. I did not participate.
You and your people, nah.
No. Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's just this age. I don't know. But there's definitely a struggle to find someone who's laid back, easygoing, just kind of cool, right? And your engagement wasn't around like, what do you do? And what is your 5-year plan and things of that nature? It was really just, we just hit the ground running with jokes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like a friend vibe.
Definitely a friend vibe. Well, for me, I just wanted dating to be fun. I didn't want to come into meeting people with this idea of like, oh, are you my husband? Are you my husband? Are you my partner? It wasn't that at all. For me, dating was collecting data about myself first and foremost, and me being able to trust myself that I'm clear about who I'm becoming in this season. And I trust how I feel. I trust how I feel in my body. I trust if I feel safe around someone, or if I don't try to make up excuses to make them seem better than they are or to romanticize. I literally just go with how I feel. And ironically, when I was reading a journal this morning from maybe a few weeks after we met, one of the things that I wrote about was feeling safe in your presence.
That's great to hear. That's great to know. Because there's a mutual safety, right? We need safety as well. I have the safety to be vulnerable. I have the safety to express, for a lack of better words, grievances, right? Mm-hmm. There's not many. I never walk into any discussion with the expectation that I have to walk on eggshells, that I have to be careful about how I say something or what I say, because there's that mutual trust, right? I trust that you're not going to take things outside of context, right? And I get that trust from you, that you trust I'm not trying to be hurtful, right? So communication is incredibly important to me. I've got friends who call me long-winded, but we'll spend 2 hours just talking about nonsense.
Too. Oh my God.
You know what I mean? I would say it has been and it is incredibly refreshing to have someone that I can just talk to however I want to talk, because I'm not trying to be hurtful or mean. And, you know, what I get from you is the same, like just intentional, direct, and like I said, engaging interactions.
What our relationship has taught me more and more is that radical honesty is not about being rude. It's not about leaving people without their dignity for the sake of like, oh, I just want to be right. I think the thing that's refreshing for me is I don't have to walk on eggshells. I don't have to calculate the time of day, the tone, like I don't have to have all this premeditated buildup to being able to just share with you how I'm feeling or my needs, wants, desires, especially that, because what you've done for me is not make it all about you. You don't center yourself when I say, hey, I'm feeling this way, or we're coming up on a busy season and I know I'm going to be heads down and I'm not going to initiate dates and all that. But if you do, I'll go, you know, but it's just so nice to not have who I am be weaponized against me. Like as a successful woman, an ambitious woman with a team, building a business, I feel like from the beginning, your energy, once you understood what I did, and then I think after time, who I was in my space and all that has only been, how can I support you?
Right.
Every single day.
Well, I mean, I also had to learn that after the fact, right? Like,
yeah,
we didn't really talk much about what we did professionally. We just genuinely enjoyed hanging out. You know what I mean? So there was beauty in that. And then when I started learning more about what you did, it was like, oh, cool. Like, and that was just on top of who you are, right? And the friend and the person that I got to know. So there's this beauty in that. I love how intentional you are. I've grown to like see when you're pensive or when you're in your head just kind of calculating or just thinking about something. But then you don't leave things up to my imagination, right? You've also, even this morning, you were like, hey, I'm really thinking about XYZ today. So I might just kind of be distant. You know what I mean? And it doesn't leave me with having to figure out
what you did. Did I do that? Is there something wrong with it? Right.
You know, something bothering her. You know what I mean? So it's, again, like, it's just refreshing, you know?
Yeah. And you did the same thing just this morning when when you were sharing something that you're just processing and it's taking up a lot of mental bandwidth. And you're like, if I seem like I'm not focused or like I'm not locked in, that's what I'm thinking about. And also very helpful because then you don't have to worry or wonder. One of the things on my ideal partner list was about that type of communication and the ability to be radically honest. And one of the things I said is I wanted someone who, the more they got to know me, they loved me even more. And that definitely has felt like my experience. But you said something interesting, and I don't want to make this super long. Maybe we'll have to bring you back. I just felt like it was important for your voice to be heard because I keep talking about my partner. I know in the Redefining Wealth app, they're like, now coach. But
I am not AI.
You're a real person, real man. But something that you said that I want to give voice to is I did not lead with who I am professionally because ultimately there's so many other parts to who I am. Redefining Wealth is me and I am it, but it's the work pillar. And there's just so many other pillars that comprise who I am as a woman, as a mother, as a friend, as a daughter. And I think that sometimes a lot of us, when we're not clear on who we are, and we're still cluttered in so many of these pillars, we feel like the only thing we have to offer is what we do. Our identity is so wrapped up in, do they know who I am? Do they know what I've done? Do they know what I've accomplished? And for me, dating was definitely not about making sure someone knew what I did professionally. I even, full transparency, you didn't even know how to spell my actual name.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
I went by Patrice, but I did not spell it Patrice, even though people can figure out whatever they want to figure out. I intentionally just didn't do that because I didn't want someone to instantly go Google me and then create all these assumptions about oh, you must be a boss chick and all you care about is work and all this stuff, and not give me an opportunity to be known for who I am genuinely outside of work. I think you learned my name maybe.
I think it was a couple weeks.
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, did you even try to Google me? You're like, no, didn't. I'm like, oh.
No, I made it a thing for a few days though. I was like, you lied to me.
Right. For good reason. It was to protect you. It was to protect you. But I think you should just come back so we can tell the story of how we actually met.
Well, have your people reach out to my people, check my schedule, and we'll see.
I'll yell for you to come upstairs.
Yeah,
that sounds like
that might work as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that this brief introduction to Jay gives you some inspiration to be willing to redefine love for yourself, to get clear about who you are first and foremost, grow in your self-love and your self-trust, that no matter what you've experienced, you have the capacity to choose the next best thing for you. And also to know when something is not right for you and just release it sooner, quicker, faster, that you have the power to visualize what you want, to set your space up, to call in the things that you desire. All of these things, everything we talked about on this episode is available to you. I don't feel special at all. I feel like I followed the authentic alignment tools that we talk about in the Institute for Redefining Wealth, and so many of the principles that I share with my own clients. And I can honestly say, since the whole series on redefining love came out in 2022, it has been such a blessing to meet Jay in 2023 and to still be here and continuing to move forward in the most beautiful way. And that's genuinely what I desire for every woman in particular, but for everyone, that you get to experience a love that feels genuine and authentic and safe and affirming and healing for you as well. So share what you thought about this episode in the comments. Come on into the Redefining Wealth app and let me know if you would like to hear a full episode about how we met and how we've been building this relationship and redefining love in what we call our own little bubble. So until next week's episode, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. We'll talk to you later.